a synthesis article, and you're welcome to, if you find one, a good one, assume that I will say, yep, go ahead and print it, and then go get it, and that's fine. Again, any questions before here we go? A reminder, your third essay is you addressing, did Reconstruction succeed? And there are really three areas where you could measure that. The economic rebuilding of the South, right? Their old economy is gone. The slave-based economy, that's gone. Well, you got to replace it with something. Did it work? The second one is political. The political system where only white males got to vote, that's gone, right? You suddenly have an influx of all these people who are now supposedly American citizens. Do they get to vote? Did it work? That's for you to decide. And then third one might be the physical rebuilding of the South, the actual physical rebuilding. And you're choosing two of those topics, right? It's a 6-paragraph essay. We're back to 6 paragraphs, sorry. But we're back to 6 paragraphs. Pick two of those areas, right? There's 3, pick 2. Political, economic, physical. Pick 2, whichever 2 you want, and argue the successes of those 2 areas and the failures, and then ultimately reject with evidence the argument you disagree with, and then support with evidence the area you support. Okay, here we go. So I am now identifying for you the 3 groups of people who, after the Civil War, had political power in the South. What is political power? What does that mean? These people could vote. They could vote. These are the 3 groups of people who could vote in the South after the Civil War. The first group were called carpetbaggers. And there's one right there. Look at his stupid sniveling face. He's like Swiper. Does anyone know what a carpetbagger was? Or could you look at that political cartoon and define who are the carpetbaggers? Very good. They could vote. People in the North who moved to the South. Why? In God's green earth would a Northerner move to the South after the Civil War? Why would you do that? And white, by the way. Why would any Northern person say, hey, there's an area that's just been ravaged by war. Let's go. Why would anyone move to Germany after World War II? Why would anyone move to Japan after World War II? Why would anyone move to Iraq after the 2003 American invasion? Why would you do that? Very good. You could go because you're in a position of strength and you could exploit the local population, right? There's a need. They need roads. They need schools. And you're a construction company. Business will be good, wouldn't it? That's exactly what happened. An area that's been ravaged by war is an area of opportunity, right? People, any of you, after you graduate, you could move to Iraq and become very, very wealthy. They're wanting people to build schools and roads and bridges and whatever. Business is good. The pay is excellent. Now, the risk is a bit high, right? There's your cost. But the benefit, man, if you survive, life is great, okay? The kind of people that would move there would be one of 2, right? The kind that wants to do good things and the kind that want to make a buck, right? Do you suppose that some Northerners moved to the South and made a contract with the federal government to build a railroad and ripped the government off? Oh, yeah, absolutely. A guy by the name of Rockefeller? Mm-hmm. That's how he got his start. Young Rockefeller, who would become one of the wealthiest people on earth ever, got his start during Reconstruction, making contracts with the U.S. federal government to, I'm not sure exactly what he did in the South, but bit nefarious, some of his dealings with the federal government. And then the second group would be people who honestly wanted to help, right? And you see that today. People who want to move to Iraq because they want to help the people of Iraq or Afghanistan or Germany or Japan, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? Well, when they moved to the South, they got to vote, so they can vote. Who do you think they'd vote for, Republican or Democrat? At the time. Republican, absolutely, right? They're a Northerner. Northerners voted Republican, generally. Okay? So they're going to vote Republican. Group number 2, scalawags. Arr. That's right. Scalawag is a term for pirate. Pirates got to vote. Now, if you're thinking, pirates? Why were there pirates in the South? I don't understand. Why would there be one-eyed parrot carrying, hook-armed, one-legged, or the boats? I don't understand. Is pirate or scalawag, is that a term of endearment? If I said, hey, you're a scalawag, would you say, oh, thanks?
No.
No, it's an insult. It's an insult. So anyone want to take a shot here? Who were scalawags?
African Americans.
No. Good guess, though. Very good guess. Anyone else? Take a shot.
Indian.
The more wealthy, like they're like taking money.
Not a bad guess. Maybe. I mean, that's not necessarily a defining characteristic. Scalawags were white Southerners who at the end of the war said, we lost. Let's deal with it. Right? Imagine World War II, a former Nazi, right? They lost. Germany lost. This is the guy who said, all right, Hitler's dead. Can we move on? We lost. Our vision is gone. Let's move on. A scalawag was a white Southerner who, during the Civil War, may have believed in the Confederate cause, but now that the war is over, I'm ready to move on. I'm done with the whole secession thing. I'm ready to accept the new reality. They got to vote. And then, of course, there were your former slaves. They were called freedmen. They got to vote. We already identified that this person would probably vote Republican. The ones that are ready to move on, they're generally going to vote Republican. The former slaves are definitely going to vote Republican. And for a while, I'm telling you, for a while, they had it. They had it. Former slaves were elected mayors, I don't think a governor, but senators, representatives. They went to their state capitals. Some people even were elected to Washington, D.C., including the first African-American ever elected to Congress. You should know his name. He was in your Kia. His name is Hiram Revels. Hiram Revels, R-E-V-E-L-S. First African-American ever elected to the Senate or the House, I'm not sure which. Congress. Let's go with Congress. Right? They had it. They had it. So look at my hands. This is before and during the Civil War. These people had political power and these people didn't. Before and during the Civil War, these people had political power and these people didn't. These people are wealthy white Southerners. And these people are African Americans. They can't vote. These people can. Well, war's over. South loses. 13th Amendment and slavery. What I'm doing is showing you political power, right? 13th Amendment. 14th Amendment says they are now citizens. 15th Amendment says you cannot deny the right to vote. 14th Amendment bans former Confederates from voting. You cannot vote if you are a former Confederate high enough ranking. Okay, most regular soldiers were not considered high enough in rank to warrant being banned for life from voting. Look at that. Before and during, after. They had it. And the question is, what happened? What happened? How'd they lose it? Because it went back to this. And that's what we're going to spend the next couple days on is how did it go from here to here, right back to here? What happened? Anyone know the answer? I'll give you a clue. It's the same letter 3 times. There you go. Okay. How did Reconstruction fail? I was really proud of that.
I cannot read that.
Oh, really? Well, that's an H. That's an O and a W. Space. DID. Reconstruction fail. And I stretched it out for your viewing pleasure. You're welcome. How did it fail? Let's start identifying how it failed. The KKK. This is a chart which shows known membership in the KKK. This is the original KKK, founded in 1866. Anyone know who founded the KKK? You should know. Did you not watch Forrest Gump? Did you know Forrest Gump is named after the founder of the KKK, Nathan Bedford Forrest? That's why his name is Forrest Gump. You'll never forget it. Okay, Nathan Bedford Forrest founds the KKK. Who joins the KKK?
Southerners.
White Southerners who used to be Confederate soldiers. You think the war ended with the end of the Civil War? Are you nuts? It raged on, only now it's underground. Think of the American Revolution. There was the Continental Army. They met the British on the battlefield, and then there were the Sons of Liberty. They didn't meet the British on the battlefield. They lose. Do you know the American Army wiped out the Iraqi Army in about 3 days? 2003, we invaded. 3 days later, the Iraqi Army was wiped out. That was in 2003. It is now 2019. That's 16 years. 16 years? We already defeated the Iraqi army in 3 days? Well, then who are we fighting? We're fighting the people who quit the Iraqi army and then joined another group. And that group fights underground. It's a pattern you see again and again and again. The American army beats the enemy army, and then there's the underground fight that happens after. It happened in the Spanish-American War. We wiped out the Spanish army in the Spanish-American War in about 3 months. The war continued for years because of the underground resistance after. Same thing here. You think those Confederate soldiers, after the South surrendered, were like, ha, good try. I sure love black people. They went home and they taught their kids racism, and they taught their grandkids racism, and they continued the fight underground. First original KKK efforts to wipe it out were largely successful, and then Jim Crow laws were passed, and then this was the new and improved KKK, early 1900s. But the KKK we're talking about is this one. Okay, this one we'll talk about later, but that's the original KKK. What are they? They're a political terrorist organization. By the way, that's the exact same definition I used for the Sons of Liberty when we studied the American Revolution. I used the exact 3 same words. And yet I have a feeling many of you admired the Sons of Liberty. Yeah, they got the British. They threw the tea in the harbor. They tarred and feathered. Yeah, but they were British, so it's different. And I'm asking you to kind of step back from your Americanness and try and see from an objective perspective that they're the same. The goals you might say, well, no, they're not. They're different. But boy, did they see themselves as that. These people thought they were the second generation of the Sons of Liberty. A group that is resisting an oppressive national government over there. Now, over there might be Britain, but it might be Washington, D.C. And we're trying to break free and rule ourselves, and they're not letting us. Okay. Made up of former Confederates. The goal was to prevent these three groups from voting. The original goal of the KKK was to prevent these three groups from voting. Anyone know how they did it? How'd they do it? How did the KKK prevent these three groups from voting? You know. When you're, what? Very good. Fear. They used fear. They used midnight rides. They used lynchings. They used cross burnings. They scared people from voting. So let's take a look again at my hands here. Before and during the Civil War, these people have power, these people don't. Civil War's over, Reconstruction. The tide turns, right? These people cannot vote anymore. These people can now vote. And now these people form the KKK and scare these people from voting. They're not voting anymore. Now all we need to do is reacquire the right to vote somehow. But what the KKK did, there we go. What the KKK did was this. You understand? I should do it on video. What the KKK did was that.
But they didn't rise.
Yeah, you're right. This is. Oh. Do you understand? So votes for Republicans decreases. Now all they need to do is somehow reacquire the right to vote. And that's a challenge for another day. Okay. Any questions here? Last slide, and then you'll have a nice chunk of time here, about 15 minutes. This is an economic argument. An economic argument. This is true, generally true of American history until World War II, and that is this. When a war is over, the economy doesn't do so well. Anyone know why? When a war's on, economy's great. And then the war's over, and it's suddenly suddenly people start losing their jobs and not buying things, and the economy goes down. Anyone know why? Pretty good, right? During a war, you know who the country's biggest consumer is? During a war, who is the country's biggest consumer? Yeah, the federal government. They need guns. They need uniforms. They need food, which means they're willing to buy. And when you're willing to buy, that means demand goes up. And when demand goes up, what happens to the price? It goes up. So these consumers want products, which means sellers can raise their price. Now they're making more money. Now, what do they do with that money? They buy things. War, actually, some president said this. War is the health of the state. War is the health, I think it was Polk. War is the health of the state. But when the war's over, now the government doesn't need more guns. So then demand for guns goes down, which means the supplier of guns can't sell the guns. What does he have to do to the price so that you buy it anyway? It's to lower the price, which means they now have less money. So now they buy less. And on and on and on. And that is true until World War II. And we'll get to, well, why? Wasn't World War II a decrease in the U.S. demand for guns and tanks and uniforms? The quick answer is no. But we'll get there later. Okay, so let's take a look at something. This is an economic depression called the Panic of 1873. War's over. So the United States government does not need Union soldiers anymore. So they're released. That means they don't have income anymore. So they can't find a job. So people don't have money to spend. So demand for stuff goes down. So factories stop making so much stuff. So they fire their workers. So now those people don't have money to spend, which means demand for stuff goes down, which means factories stop making a lot of stuff, which means they fire more workers. So now those people don't have money to spend, which means demand for stuff goes down, which means factories stop making so much stuff, which means they fire more workers, which means those people don't have money to spend, and on and on and on. And how do you get out of this? How do you get out of this? That's a pretty good answer. We need a new war. Very good. Okay, so you've seen the conclusion that the United States made after World War II was, let's not stop war. Let's keep warring. And as a result, right after World War II, you have the Cold War, a 50-year-long war. And what I'm trying to get across to you right now is, it is possible that the Cold War was caused in part for jobs. Let's keep warring so that people can make submarines, so that they can have income, so they can buy a car, so that people can make more cars, so that they can have money, so that they can buy a house. Let's go to war for the economy, was the conclusion after World War II. But that's it. We are done for today. I don't want to take any more of your time. I realize that mentally some of you are still in Christmas break. So if you want to shut off for the next 15 minutes, that's totally up to you. But if you want to start thinking about your essay, there are the computers, you've got your packet, you've got your cheat sheet. You have the rest of the hour to think about it. Oakley dokley.
So that would work for primary documents?
Things that are in here that are primary documents would work for the primary documents. Not all of this is primary documents. Like this, for example, this timeline is not a primary document. So it's full of stuff. Yeah.
I got it, yeah. Click on my page. I know.